resources. But yeah, each word creates more parameters who have access to specific like trucks. And each little piece of that phrase is a
okay.
action in the date and the CRUD. Look up, find users who have trucks. Find users in 10 miles who had a truck. And then maybe the order of the code is more like look up users, look up resource field, search trucks. But if the query was like, I need a truck, who has one? I could also interpret that in the same way, even though it's a different order of words. Users with trucks.
Yeah, okay. So each one of those tags
Yeah.
can be a complex tag. So you say have truck. Look up have truck.
Right.
So we interpret have as the author ID. You could say went to dance. That's the attendee ID. Eventually those just map. But it's like a what's it called? A compound like tag. So first word, second word, and we just establish what that relationship mapping is to this thing.
Right.
And then we just have like that's kind of like the slug. Like a truck is a thing. The title of this is my Ford F-150.
Right.
But the asset type or the identifier is truck.
Right.
Or it's just an asset with the word truck in the tags.
Right.
Find all the assets with a truck in it.
Yeah.
That's how you do it, dude.
Yeah.
Man. Because all these, like what you did the other day, the maybe user IDs.
Yeah.
It's one example, but you saw how kind of convoluted it is.
Yeah, you have to do it in a different order. Because looking at my maybe user IDs is different from looking at all the maybe users. Or my maybe events is different from all maybe users for this event.
Right.
So you have to like update both documents. This user has these maybe events. This event has these maybe users.
Yeah, so maybe like a my classification and a child classification.
Right.
The maybes of this event. Yeah, the maybes, right. Okay, well, at the very least, and that's basically where Apollo and GraphQL is going with where they're saying one query. You're always calling one query and you're defining what that query is.
Right.
Which is great. I guess that's kind of the invert of how Mongo works. Maybe that's why it evolved that way. Mongo started with define the things that you want, and then establish this connection, and then we'll monitor this connection. And GraphQL goes, we'll always have this connection. You just define the parameters for that particular type.
Right.
So it's more straightforward because it's basically JSON.
Yeah.
Describing, but if we can do that internally on our own, which we're doing anyway,
right,
that's actually faster.
Right, and it's kind of a different angle on a similar need, but GraphQL said call schemas, call queries. yeah, call schemas find field
and
key. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you could the fragments or whatever they're calling them.
Yeah.
But the issue is there. I think you have like set schemas.
Yeah.
Which is fine for like models, but if you're adding different fields or like every time the code updates,
right,
then you update the schema table.
Right.
And you saw the other day with Atlas can auto detect a schema.
Yeah.
So maybe we just do that.
Yeah.
It's like every day we just manually update the GraphQL schema because we've added a new feature on a model.
Right.
Maybe for a day we test it to see if it works.
Yeah.
And now that's exposed to the API.
Yeah.
So you can find all the cooks.
Right.
Or something specific.
Right. Yeah. Right. And as people are adding more things and adding more tags, then there's all those concepts and tags become part of some schema.
Yeah, and then I think with tags, it can kind of just become a hyper intelligent tag cloud.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
what if all tags just became fields?
All tags became fields. Yeah.
With some value of representing the relationship it has to that tag.
Would that be like an array of objects, like a key value?
Yeah, like a key value for every tag that represents its relationship to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe it's null. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe it's, yeah. I don't know.
Well, that's where I was going.
It's kind of a brainstorm. There's something there, though.
Yeah, that reminds me of, well, that's the alpha thing of creating an array of the keys on the document.
Right.
So we had all these things that have been added to it. Now we're indexing that array.
Right.
Now we can dynamically go through all the things that exist on there, then pull the value.
Yeah.
So it's our own kind of internal query
browser.
Yeah. Or field browser.
Yeah.
And then if you're like aggregating those fields, then that can say, we were almost there, where it's like whatever, show these fields as you're displaying this document based off of this list.
Yeah.
And then maybe having a smart list of, depending on the field name, they fit into a category of field type.
Right.
It's a date, so show a calendar.
Right.
But the field is called start date or
Right.
start time.
Right.
Or, yeah.
Right.
And that's where like any widget can just apply any data to the thing. It sees what it is, sees how to show it elsewhere.
Yeah.
And that gets, I think, into like the high-low we or holochain we territory.
Yeah.
Like we're just kind of applying a schema here, showed intelligently.
Yeah.
Like that widget of.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's an interesting new area where to have like.
Because if every like group document has its own schema, and then you add the widget based on its internal schema, then it's just applied to it. It's just applied in the context of where it lives. Yeah, also, ultimately, you should be able to be like, what is this pipe's relationship to that lamp? And then it could be like, well, it's 10 feet away. It's 10% of the size. It's, I don't know.
That's like the semantic web. It's just
Yeah.
3 things. It's like neurons and axons.
Uh-huh.
Everything just has relations.
Uh-huh. What are axons?
I think it's the dendrite. I thought the axons were the myelin sheath connection between 2 neurons.
Okay. Yeah.
I know embarrassingly little about actual neurochemistry.
For the sake of the metaphor, though.
For the sake of the metaphor, the idea of the semantic web was that it's like a layer on top of the web.
Right.
And the example I read long ago was there's 2 websites that sell cars or manage cars.
Right.
They have their own schemas, but they have concepts of color, make, type, model, year, tire size. The semantic web would be able to see intelligently how those are constructed.
Right.
And if I want to create an app that looks for cars, so it's a common. But then that's why they were talking about like schema.org, which I guess Tibet says has been somewhat compromised. But it's a giant just database of schemas.
Yeah, I've checked it out.
Yeah, okay.
You said it was compromised now?
I don't know. I guess I don't know what business deals I have. You can add schemas, so it's not like it's going anywhere or it's going to be not usable, but it's close to not only like a scheme, but I think it's more for like schema of life stuff, not particularly how apps would maybe.
Yeah, have you looked at it?
Not a long time.
Schema for everything, yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like board games and everything.
Right.
But then, so that would you would use that, I guess, ideally, to then say we're going to endorse this structure, and then they also have like the has many or director of, movie person. So I guess you could tie in our intelligence to that schema.org thing, and just check it on across that list, to determine what, because I guess schema.org has like types of relationships. Yeah, this is like a verb. Doc schemas, validate. I created a new stream.
Okay.
Put it. That's an interesting concept, actually. If we do something like you want to add something called a review, like I can look at your post, I can create a new node, I can pull from schema.org to say, what do you want to call this? Or what schema do you want to use? I want the review schema, and it has got item list or list item or web content. Oh, okay. This is like building an app with the field types,
right?
And then it literally just goes through all these, creates fields for this.
Right.
So like, which subfields on this review document do you want to add? And then we create widgets to. Well, yeah, the widgets just get defined with the, what is this, expected type. Right. The expected type is a review. What's a review? It's this thing we're looking at. What's a thing? Well, that's the most generic type of item. What does it have? Same as URL. Like you can just enable the fields and then the widget. And then all of these specific ones, like if it's referencing other schemas, that's looking up a dynamic model type, in this case, like video game.
Right.
Or just a text or whatever widgets we have. So then really all we have to do is create widgets for field types.
Right. Right.
Going back to like the high-low node API, they have their own schemas. Yeah. Currently to load all posts. The high-low GraphQL has these as their, yeah.
Right.
And that's their issue.
Right. What's their issue?
Well, because he goes, I want to do services and offers.
Yeah.
But it's a whole thing to build out.
Right.
Compared to you just creating a thing, calling it a service.
Yeah.
You know, what is going back to here? Maybe there's offer. Schema.org. Offer. Schema type. Intangible. An offer to transfer some rights to an item or provide a service. Rent a DVD. Acceptable payment method. Yeah, eligible duration. Like you can just create any of these constraints.
Right.
And then maybe we go in and say, oh, eligible duration should turn it off after that time has passed.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And the only way you can make this queryable is through like facets, where you take an array of the keys on the document, aggregate that.
Right.
Because now we have a million different fields.
Right.
A couple hundred field types.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for an offer. What are my filter options? Oh, duration. Is it family friendly? What's the price? Is there a warranty?
Exactly.
I mean, there should be like what, like a coin? Cavalier and extensions. Currency, schema property. Yeah. Monetary amount. Yeah, right. You just find something like on schema.org for monetary amount. Thing, intangible, structured value, monetary amount. And then you connect that to Stripe. Or our own Gradigen engine.
Right. I mean, does that make monetary amount also basically just like a document, concept document with these fields on it?
Let's see. This is a schema type. The structure. I don't. Right, like a model.
Right.
Like the same as an event.
Right.
There's like sub.
Yeah.
Sub schemas.
I don't know. Maybe monetary amount isn't a good example, but
Actually, I think it would be like a compound field.
yeah.
You apply it to a product,
Right.
and then inside of here you have min value, max value, valid when.
Right. A compound field meaning it's an array in one field.
Yeah, or an object, or yeah, an object, like a sub object with all these key values or potential key values.
Right.
But yeah, inside of that you can have, it's like an address. Address has the street and the city and the, you know, a compound. Could be an array. It's just an object is like an ordered array.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah. Okay. So supersedes data acknowledgement examples 1. Oh wow. So JSON of monetary amount would, yeah. I mean, you just copy this in, go through it. Oh, cool. Extensions. Right.
What's vocabulary definition down then? Berlin developers, schema info.
Wow, the whole thing?
Jesus.
Okay.
Jesus. Whoa. Class. ID. Type. RDFS. Okay. So like fields.
I mean, this is maybe like our own alpha delta thing. I guess my question is for an API. I'd imagine it's like Reddit where you can just put a JSON on a call.
Mm-hmm.
JSON LD context is available. It's given to us typically. Oh, well. I mean, shit, we could just have that JSON file that we reference. Yeah, it's literally one giant JSON, so we can just query that for if it matches to a word. And then find that context.
Hold on. Okay, hold on, bro. Wait. So are you telling me that we could use this giant database of schemas and we could, like, do you know where I'm going with this?
I'm feeling it.
Yeah. Well, like, okay, so every one of those terms on that entire schema site, if somebody were to just say, like, add an end date to this thing,
Okay.
it could run through all the schemas, see what an end date is, add a time field to the document, or add an end date to the compound time field of the document and input the number. But like basically it can just use that entire fucking library of all words that are attached to concepts that are already attached to associated field types to just use it almost like as a giant GraphQL CRUD query. Like it's all already there.
So this is the giant thing. I type in, I'm just doing on the browser, and maybe date. So there, it pulled up, let's see, ID, schema start time.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Let's see, event schedule, schema, event schedule, end date, schema, end date. Yep.
Right. Okay.
Schema domain includes. Oh, interesting. It's included in these things. So this is like Delta.
Right.
These are the parent schemas.
Right.
Schema range includes. Schema date time.
Bro.
Schema date. These are the field types. That's little HTML
Right.
field types.
Right.
We don't have to build the widgets. Schema source. Let's see. What's this? Source. Goes to GitHub issues. Oh, and people talking about it. Yeah, cool. End date. That's literally like the conversation about the schema thing.
Oh my god, dude. Did nobody think of this? I mean, you're just saying add this type of thing to my document and insert these things into the field. Yeah, we don't have to define any schemas. It's all right there. We just have to have it accurately, like, you know, when it's find end date, you didn't find end date in another. You found schema end date, not schema start date that has the word end date in it.
Yeah. So that might be like we find all the ones that say schema, we just pull those keys, put them in an array,
Right.
and here's your field menu.
Right.
Or rather, do a autocomplete search,
Mm-hmm.
and as you're keying in something, well, yeah, it could be the event. Well, because all these are included in this,
Mm-hmm.
so the role would pop up as a model that includes an end date.
Mm-hmm.
But that's, yeah, you're right. You're looking for if you're adding a field or anything. It could be a parent model, a super schema.
Yeah. Okay, can you explain to me what I'm saying now?
Let me get some caffeine. So it just intelligently knows what you're trying to add.
Right.
You kind of start off with a key value pair of I have a thing that I want to add. I want to add an end date to this.
Yeah.
You need a system that goes, oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I know how to parse that.
Yeah.
And then our software knows what to do with it. Can you buy a ticket after the end date?
Right.
But then these actions get defined by their relationship to specific fields.
Right.
Purchasable ticket. Well,
right.
You can't buy a ticket if there's no ticket price.
Right.
Or no tickets exist.
Right.
So that's a ticket amount field.
Yeah.
You can't buy a ticket if it's after the end date.
Right.
If an end date exists.
Right.
Right. And then, so we were kind of just defining like the buttons.
Yeah.
But what's exciting because, like I mentioned to Tibet, or maybe it was Tom, or no, it was Eric, where like we try to have these models, and then we try to add on the financial and permission role layers,
mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden all of our code has to be updated.
Mm-hmm.
Then it become tougher because the code base is getting bigger and we're adding these layers. Whereas this just goes, we have a gigantic field list, contextual, the leaves, the branches, the twigs,
mm-hmm.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
This is always going to be available. So we just query this JSON. Well, in fact, I would query it and then locally store like the schema, I don't know, info of like, just give me one list of all the main schemas.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It says range includes, or shit. How many schemas exist?
I mean, we should start by just downloading that document.
Yeah, I was just thinking if we're depending on how many schemas exist. I mean, 10 million sites use schema in order to mark up their web pages and email messages. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about like model management.
Yeah. We need to pull it in like the icons.
Yeah, right. Then
those schemas are all context.
Yeah, and then you auto find an icon.
Right.
It's like I want to create an event.
Right. Right.
And they go, wow, how long did it take you to code that? 0.
It pulled itself together. I want to create an event. Oh, an event includes these fields. Cool. I want to create an event on Saturday. Cool. Add Saturday to date field.
Yeah, that parsing add event on Saturday.
Right.
Wow. But also that SmartBot is actually our own data API internally, primarily.
Right.
I mean, people can use it. Like, well, sure. Actually, of course. Then you create like one. It's like the app sheet stuff where it said, "Show me a list of users."
Yeah.
And it just generates views.
Yeah.
You have that input of like add words into it.
Right.
That adds words into the subscription, into the publication.
Exactly.
That parses out intelligently what you meant.
Exactly. And the user might have to like think a little bit like a coder to be like, you know, first create an event. Now add date and time. Now add members.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But then you're like just going about your day and you're like, oh, add a DJ role to my jam night event. Cool. Yeah. And look for users in the area. Just like verbally. You know?
Yeah.
And message users in the area.
And if it doesn't get what they want,
yeah,
we have a little report button.
Right.
Be like, this wasn't ideal.
Yeah.
We look at it
Yeah.
and go, oh, in the area, that's a good phrase.
Right.
That means
right.
Mile radius.
Right. Yeah. And you can just keep building it. Like message users in the area with a level 3 DJ badge who are available on Saturday. You know, you have to like give it the parameters. You kind of have to know what to prompt it with. But it just like listens to all of that. And it's like, cool. It's an event, it has members, it has whatever. This is an event. No, then it just goes find users with DJ in skill or role. But like somehow I'm trying to get around even having to program in like when this, then this. You know? I wanted to just listen.
Yeah.
So it's like breaking it down to the simplest parts of the speech. Yeah, but I guess certain terminology is like a compound of commands.
Well, the whole thing, and get this, each one of those schemas have descriptions.
Right.
A role description.
Right.
Send that to Watson.
Right. Oh, God. This is going to be a fun afternoon. Oh, yeah.
Aggregate the tags related to the types of fields that are related to this. schema that you're adding that's attached to any other
Right.
type of thing.
Yeah.
With
This is where I start to be like, I want a big fast computer so we can just like get all those icons, create all those schema based concept documents. Like, yeah, it's like that. If it's all just a document with a bunch of fields on it about the thing that it is, and then it can connect to another document with a certain relationship between the fields, how they relate, that's everything. That's doing everything with everything.
Yeah. And the issue with the graduate code base now is that there's just manually defined models.
Right.
And the relationship between them. And each child CRUD related parent model.
Right. Oh shit. Beluga. Makes me laugh, eh?